Welcome to How Do They Afford That, the podcast that peeks into the financial lives of everyday Australians. I'm Michael Thompson. I'm a writer and the co-host of the podcast Fear and Greed Business News. And as always, I'm with Canna Campbell, financial planner and founder of Sugar Mama TV, a financial literacy platform that you will find just about everywhere on YouTube and podcasts like this one, and books and Instagram and Threads and TikTok and more. Your intro is going to take up half the show one day. It just kind of just gradually just creeps longer and longer every day. It's like, oh, now make sure you mention this platform I'm on too.
Keynote speaking as well. I've been doing a lot of that around Australia.
Keynote speaking as well. All right. I'm really looking forward to today's topic, Canna, because we talk a lot about living more frugally. And it's also about kind of living more mindfully with our money as well. So far, I haven't said anything wrong. You're nodding still. This is a good sign. But it takes a lot of work. It really does, doesn't it? If you want to be frugal, if you want to be kind of careful with your money and make sure that you're kind of setting up sustainable spending habits and all of this kind of thing, it actually takes a lot of work.
I would actually say you need to be mindfully frugal.
It feels like you're splitting hairs very early in the show.
Bear with me, okay?
Okay. So it's a lot of planning, a lot of thought required to help save money and to kind of spend mindfully and all of that. We're going to break it down today, aren't we? And we're going to break it down because I love a list. We are going to break it down into 5 easy steps. This is all about how to organize your life for frugal living. For frugal, mindful living. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Just wanted to be very, very clear on that. I think you were reminded of this, weren't you, during frugal, fruitful February?
Yes.
Is it that way or is it fruitful, frugal?
Fruitful. The frugal for me is silent. So it's fruitful February. But for other people, it might be fruitful, frugal February, or it might be just frugal February.
Yeah. I think because this is a podcast and people can't see, when you were saying that just then, you said the fruitful part out loud and then you kind of mouthed the word frugal.
Silent. It's like the H in Hermes. It's silent.
There are so many words you could have chosen just then.
I'm feeling a little bit emotional today. Let's be gentle with me.
I shan't.
Unless you want me to start crying.
No, revealing that you're feeling vulnerable just says to me, you got to poke a bit harder here. We've got to exploit this. We've got to see how far we can go. Look, fruitful, frugal February kind of reminded you of just how organised you actually need to be in order to save money, didn't it?
Yes, you really do need to slow down, and you've got to invest time being organised, but also invest time to simplify your life and to cull. And also, when I say mindful, just be mindful of things that could happen. So in fruitful February, Giuseppe, my chocolate Labrador, who's 11, who is my favourite family member, he got really sick and ended up in emergency vet hospital for, I think, 5 or 6 days. And it was pretty bad. It was very touch and go. And at one stage they actually said, look, maybe we need to look at putting him to sleep. But thank goodness we kept fighting, and thank goodness for pet insurance. But Tom was in Hong Kong, he flew home early. We were literally, I've got 3 kids, trying to go backwards and forwards to the emergency hospital to visit him. My time suddenly evaporated and I became very time poor. And there I am trying to be fruitful in February. And this is going to become really annoying with these awkward pauses for people who are listening, but you know the word I'm saying. So it really, and the wheels started to fall off because then I was, hadn't been able to invest that time and I had to then quickly get takeaway or, or I hadn't checked my budget or I hadn't checked my transactions or I'd forgotten to pay something. The wheels fell off.
Yeah. And so you start taking the easy way, which is typically going to be the more expensive. Do you think that's a barrier then to a lot of people kind of saving money because everyone is time poor? Everybody has a lot of stuff going on in their lives, and often if we are short on time, the chances are we're going to opt for the easiest option, which is often not the cheapest, and that goes kind of for food, for entertainment, for a bunch of other things.
I do. I think we're running around like headless chickens, a lot of us. And also what happens is not only are you time poor, this is when accidents happen as well. You're not concentrating, you leave something behind, you forget something, you break something or, something life gets in the way, you know, and that's where if you don't have that mindfulness or that awareness or that honest, I guess, touch on the reality of life and how things suddenly can just change, you know, that you can have the space and the time and the, I guess, financial resilience to be able to roll with that.
Yeah. All right, let's get into our 5 steps to organize your life for frugal living. I've put a lot of work into preparing these episodes. The one thing I don't put enough work into is coming up with a catchy title.
Because I love your titles. They're so good. I feel like I'm learning a lot from reading your titles, actually.
But I mean, I should figure it out before we start recording that this is going to be 5 steps for a frugal life. There we go. That's not bad.
I like that.
5 steps for a frugal life.
Lock it in, Eddie.
Yeah, done. If only I'd thought of it before and I could have introduced the episode that way. Step 1 in our 5 steps for a frugal life. Can I take a punt on this?
Go for it.
And nominate what I always try and start with, and you usually tell me that it's wrong, the budget. Do you sit down, step 1, sit down, make a bit of time to review your budget? Because if you do that, then you have a good kind of overview of where you're at, where your spending is, and where there might be some potential options to save some money. You are giving me nothing today. Looking at your face, you are just, it's like a mask. I cannot tell whether you agree with me or disagree.
I actually do agree with you, but I am someone who's very much about a money mindset for sustainability. And I do think, obviously, yes, that is the practical place to start your budget. However, it is also advisable to maybe understand why you're being frugal so that you can keep going, because you know that the sacrifices or the, you know, time that you're investing into doing your budget is because you want to pay off the home loan faster, which means you can have a early retirement or you can, you know, afford to pay for this or that. So I think investing a bit of time understanding what is the purpose for you emotionally and financially to live this or make these adjustments in your life will actually give you that inspiration to keep going when there are struggling, you know, with bad days or things happen out of the blue and you feel like throwing the towel in. I think that is important to reconnect with that why. It's kind of a bit of a lifeline sometimes.
Okay, so figuring out the why, does that have to be step 1 or can that just be like a little...
it could be...
It's like a preamble.
Yes.
It's just, I mean, you do it before you get started.
It's a footnote.
That comes at the start. It's like a pre-note. Yeah, that's like a head... What's that thing called? You know, a header on a document. You got the header and the footer. That's the header of this document. So we now know the why. Can we get back to step 1 being the budget?
Yes, I'll give you that.
Okay, so what do? You sit down, you pull out your budget, and you just go through it and see whether you are still spending what you think you are spending or whenever the last time was that you did a budget. Or if you haven't got a budget, use this opportunity to set one up. And if you dedicate the time, how long should it take you to do your first budget? Look,
I want to be real and be honest with everyone. I would actually put aside, it may not necessarily take you this long, but I put aside uninterrupted time of up to 3 hours.
Wow.
Yes. Because if you do your budget correctly the first time, it's going to be very quick and easy to maintain and stick to because there's nothing missing. The expenses are up to date and accurate. And you can also quickly cut the fat if you see it. So what I actually recommend you do, don't just sit it there and write down what you think your expenses are. Open up those Excel spreadsheets, open up your transactions, your credit card statements, and read through and actually check what you are paying. Yeah. What is the current subscription rate? And especially in this sort of day and age, expenses are going up all the time. Even just, I reviewed our budget and I do it on a regular basis, but Peppy, our younger Labrador, her pet insurance went up $20 a month last month. But because I check it regularly, I was able to quickly plug that into our budget and update it. Whereas if you just go, oh yeah, I'm assuming it's still $80 a month. In fact, it wasn't. It's gone up. So you've got to look at the fine details to make sure that your budget is correct the right way the first time.
Yeah.
Because then it's going to work for you. And it is much easier to stick to it than just constantly fixing up errors all the time, putting out fires.
And one thing you need to be wary of and brace for is when you are going through and seeing how much you spend on groceries, it is going to be more than you thought.
Way more. All those little trips where you think I'm just going to pop in and grab some milk, run out with 7 things, or you entertain for a weekend, or have some just have to throw a dinner party or something like that. a blowout.
Yeah. So that's step one. So you're sitting down. If you haven't got a budget, you are setting one up. And we have done full episodes on how to do a budget. And so they're worth going back and having a listen to if you are new to this whole world.
And if you subscribe to the Sugar Mama website, you get a free budget template emailed to you. So you can actually use that. And that is very detailed with everything you could possibly imagine. So you can't accidentally forget anything.
Everything?
Everything. I even have a line in there for pool care.
Really? I'm gonna give this some thought and see if I can find something that we spend money on in our household that is not included in your budget. I'm determined. I don't know why you've already admitted that you're feeling a bit vulnerable today, and here I am going, how can I catch you out?
I even have a line for Bunnings or Mitre 10.
Oh, really? Okay.
And then you have custom lines as well. So if you have a particularly unique situation, you can put that in there as well.
See, there you go. That's the way to that's a good catch-all, isn't it? Anything that, because if I was to say...
and itemized things to really get you thinking, because when we think about our living expenses without properly checking our budgets and actually going back, you know, quite a bit of time, like up to 12 months worth of data, it's easy to forget things.
And so if you spent quite a bit on, say, magic tricks and smoke bombs and things, you would just put that in the custom line.
And bad Christmas T-shirts, yeah.
Correct. Okay. So that's it. You sit down, you go through your budget line by line, you make sure it all kind of matches up with what you thought you were spending or what you had previously budgeted. And it's just a bit of a refresher. And you also make sure you're leaving a buffer, a suitable buffer as well.
Absolutely. What I say is anything above $20, round it up to the nearest 5, 10, 20, 50, 100 or $1,000. So you've got a safe buffer.
Okay. And that allows for kind of the continuous rise of everything from kind of power bills to food and all of this, that you're not going to get caught out by only budgeting for exactly what you're spending today and not allowing for things to rise next week.
Exactly. And no 2 weeks are the same, really.
Yeah. All right. So that's step one, budget. Step number 2, food, right? Food? It's got a bit of a question mark on there. I'm assuming food would be number 2 for
Well, yes. I mean, the best way to start living frugally is obviously to hit up the expenses that are your biggest ones, because that's where the best savings are to be had and the biggest impact you're going to make. So food for most families is the second biggest expense, along with obviously rent or mortgage or childcare.
Yep.
So when it comes to food, we've got a couple of episodes actually that really just focus on saving money at groceries. But if you're going to be living a frugal life, I think eating a simple meal, following Susie Burrell's advice, which I think was one of the best tips I've ever received about money and food, and that is have set meals for set nights. So Monday night is pasta, Tuesday night is salmon, Wednesday night is spaghetti bolognese, so that you know exactly what you're buying. You're buying the same thing, and you can cook in bulk, you can freeze things, keeping it simple.
Do you do that then every week? So every Monday is going to be pasta night and every Tuesday is going to be, I can't think of a single other type of food, barbecue night, that kind of thing.
Yes, you can. I mean, you can mix it up if you like. So what I actually do is I sort of run a fortnight rather than a weekly basis, because otherwise my kids get bored and Tom complains, which is a little bit torturous. So, come up with some great recipes where it's simple ingredients, not too many is the key. And, it actually feels healthier when you eat simply as well.
Okay.
You sleep better at night.
Yeah. And it's just easier.
Yeah.
As well. Like that, I mean, that's what I like, because to me, this is all about trying to deal with the mental load here of trying to coordinate your life. And I know from our household, one of the biggest challenges is trying to plan ahead for meals and trying to figure out what on earth we're going to do for the week.
Well, to your credit, I have to say your advice of eating the same meal that you had the night before, which I was extremely rude about until I had to go through the same experience myself. And it does actually help if you can just cook a large amount for dinner and have it again the next night, And I think being frugal, and that's why I call it being mindfully frugal, is really, it's about slowing down. We're all rushing and racing, and we're just overloaded with responsibilities and commitments. And, living a simple life is about learning to just press pause and take your time and do what you need to do when and how that works best for the family.
And this takes away one of those stresses. Then if you are planning ahead and you know what's coming up, then you're set and forget.
Exactly.
I love this. We're 2 steps in and I'm already feeling both more frugal and at least probably 40% more mindful. It's quite significant. It's profound. Step number 3 in our 5 steps for a frugal life, entertainment. How do you plan ahead? Because I mentioned this is one of those things where you go, okay, we're going to do something fun. You haven't planned ahead. So it's like, okay, we'll go to the movies or something.
Which is so expensive.
You go to the movies, and if you've got a family, take a couple of kids.
Oh.
Like the tickets themselves. Like
what about the choc tops?
Oh yeah, and the popcorn and you get a drink and stuff, and all of a sudden you're spending a couple of $100 just to go to the movies, which is just unbelievable. So how do you plan ahead? How do you kind of look at frugal entertainment options that you can kind of plan well ahead? Is there a trick?
Look, I do a lot of play dates with other parents.
Yeah.
And I also try and bring a snack along. So we'll make some banana bread to take along to the play date. We try and do it in like a park or at someone's house is always great. And because I'm often taking, snacks, they often do the same thing as well. So our kids love it. And it's great because I get to catch up with the parents, have an adult conversation where our kids just like wear each other out and swap snacks. It's really nice. And then, of course, entertaining at home.
Yeah.
Instead of going out to a restaurant or a bar, invite everyone over. Someone brings a bottle of wine, someone brings a salad, someone brings a plate of cheese, whatever it may be.
As long as you're doing it that way, where everyone contributes something, because if you invite everyone over and all of a sudden you're wearing the cost of everything, then it's going to end up being quite expensive.
Well, it's so funny you say that. So for me, during fruitful February.
I loved how you waited for me to finish saying that, because I paused expecting you to jump in and go, yeah, you're right, it is really expensive. And you wanted me to say the full thing. You wanted me to finish my full assumption that it's going to be expensive if you do it, just so that you could then just slam me with.
No, not slamming you at all. You'd be surprised. But we had non-stop house guests during February.
All right.
I had a old intern of mine came and stayed with us for 3.5 weeks from America. I then had my in-laws and my niece come and stay. And then we also had some friends that were going through a bit of a situation with their renovation, and they also moved in. So we had non-stop house guests. So our grocery bill blew out.
Yeah.
And because of the buffers that I have in place with rounding everything up, we actually still stayed on track for the month with our budget.
What about adult entertainment? And as I say that,
yeah, I'm like,
the words
it's free.
The words are replaying in my head, and I wish I had chosen them differently. But we've talked a lot about kind of entertaining for kids. But I mean, if you're planning kind of your weekend, is it just about kind of figuring out what you want to do ahead of time? And so that if you want to kind of go out somewhere, you want to do something, is it just planning ahead? Is that really the key to all of this?
It's planning ahead, but also doing some research as well. For example, you might think, we'd love to go out for dinner. Well, why don't you jump on Eat Club or First Table and see what specials are on?
Pause. Eat Club?
Yes, and First Table.
Eat Club.
You've got a memory of like a goldfish. I have spoken about this before. Eat Club is brilliant. I haven't personally tried First Table yet.
Oh, First Table is where you get the really early booking. It's like 5 o'clock or something like that, and you have to be out by 6:30 or something. And
which is so easy.
Yeah, especially
if you like 30% off the bill. It's brilliant.
And what's Eat Club?
Eat Club is the one I've done quite a few times, but that is also fantastic. It also counts sometimes for takeaway as well. But then you've also got things like Groupon. So I have been promising Rocco during the school holidays, a helicopter ride.
What?
I know, and
That's
they're
awesome.
so expensive. And I have been putting it off because when I said I'd do it, not realizing the cost. But then I did some research and I found on Groupon, I know I really just break a rod for my own back.
How did you commit to a helicopter ride without ever considering that, hang on, helicopters could be expensive?
I was trying to. It was.
He caught you in a moment of weakness, didn't he?
Did. And I
well
just
played.
being a parent, like, okay. And then I almost died when I realized how much they cost.
Yeah,
but,
and kids don't forget.
No.
If you say you will do something, they will remember that for the rest of their lives.
And the guilt has been eating me away. But this is a great solution. I jumped online and I found on Groupon they had these fantastic specials. So in fact, I think we're getting it at something like 40 or 50% off, but it gets even better. I went through one of those.
You have to fly it yourself.
Actually better. I am getting some cash back because I went through one of those cashback websites. So in fact, I ended up getting it for, I think, about 60% off if you include the money I'm getting back. So
that's amazing.
And there were no terms and conditions as to when we had to book this in. So come Friday, Rocco and I are going to be flying over Sydney in a helicopter.
That is very exciting.
Also this weekend, Tom and I are having some of his clients over for drinks. And we've been stockpiling alcohol because alcohol is expensive.
When you say his clients, I'm assuming you mean the people who kind of own the horses. You're not having the horses themselves over.
Good
for
point.
Because
technically the horses are his clients. No, so clients, humans.
Put out a tray of sugar cubes and another tray of carrots.
That would actually be a lot cheaper. But, we want to put on something like a nice event, like some beautiful champagne, some nice cheeses and so forth. So we have been stockpiling our wine. So when we've been seeing it on special, we've been grabbing a couple of bottles here and there so that when it happens, which is this Sunday, we have some really nice food and alcohol to be able to serve rather than just rushing out to the shops on Saturday afternoon and just paying full freight.
Yeah, that's great. Great ideas.
Stockpile.
Yeah, you're coming up with some great ones.
It's also something I do sometimes with kids' birthday parties as well.
Oh, like buying your cheesels in advance when they're on special, that kind of thing.
But like non-perishables, like the lolly bags and
cheesels.
Yeah, okay, cheesels.
There we go. All right, we'd get there eventually. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, we'll do steps 4 and 5 and a savings hack to finish off. I have a great savings hack, and I
do too. This isn't fair.
And mine comes with a great story as well. We'll come back in a moment. All right, Canna, we're working our way through the 5 steps for a frugal life, really to try and get yourself organised and to help relieve some of that mental load to living more frugally. We've covered the budget, we've covered food, we've covered entertaining. Step number 4, I think step number 4 is quite a meaty one, isn't it? It's kind of those bills. It's the utilities, it's your mortgage. It is sitting down and looking at what is costing you money and starting to chip away at reducing them if you can. Am I right?
Yes.
Oh, good. How do you do it? Is it just whipping out the bill and picking up the phone and going, I'm setting aside, first of all, you say, I'm going to set aside an hour to do this morning. I'm going to sit down and I'm going to call my electricity provider and ask for a better price.
So actually, can I share with you something? Sorry,
Please.
I'm just going down a garden path.
During
Frugal February, I saved about $110 per month on our electricity and gas bill. So I called them up and hustled up a better deal and told them, I'm thinking of shopping around, and they were able to put me on a much more competitive plan. So what I actually recommend you do, don't go and say, okay, well, I need an hour to do this, because no one's really got a spare hour, let's be real. What I did was sitting in the car on my way to do school pickup, but what I recommended you is save all your utility providers' telephone numbers in your phone. And also put in that contact your account number. So there's no blocks. There are no excuses not to call them. The number is in your phone. You just look it up, press dial, and you've got the account number in your phone as well. So you can quickly and easily, type that number in, or announce it on the phone so you can speak to the right consultant. That anything you can do to just, I guess, remove or reduce any excuses that are going to allow you to delay or procrastinate doing this. $110 a month, that phone call went for a maximum of 15 minutes. In fact, I did it sitting in traffic, going through the Sydney Harbour Tunnel, and it was brilliant. That's $110 a month can now go extra onto our mortgage, and that actually saves us, I think I worked out about $8,000 a year in interest. In interest, but over the course, which is, that's a lot of money.
Yeah, it sure is.
So try and make it as easy as possible. Another great way, and this is probably more of a hustling hack, is cross-reference any special promotions on those cashback websites, because particularly I've noticed with those energy providers, they have a bonus $250 cash back or $180 cash back if you switch over. Now, of course, you need to check that the savings are genuinely there. It's not, you wouldn't just do it just for the money back, but it is most definitely worth getting on the phone and letting them know I'm going to shop around. And it's the same. I made the same phone call, which I make every year, to Foxtel. I knocked another $10 actually per month off my Foxtel bill. So those little savings here and there really do add up.
I think that idea, though, is so simple but so effective, of storing the phone numbers in your phone with your account number, and so that you can make the most of those little gaps of time that normally you would spend kind of just scrolling on Instagram or on Facebook or something like that. But instead, you are able to kind of, if you're just waiting for something, you're in a kind of a queue or something, you can just make the most of that time.
And just pop your headphones in and, you can sit at your computer if, and type away and do your own work while you're on hold waiting to speak to someone. It's really not that hard.
That is fantastic and really, really simple.
Why, thank you.
Oh, seriously, I'm feeling like today is turning into a very productive episode. Not that I wasn't expecting it to. I shouldn't sound as surprised as I am. But this is actually very, very useful. Step number 5. Is there a way? And that was a big pause. It was I'm trying to make it sound very dramatic and very kind of, because this is significant. This is the big one, really. Because it's all well and good to do these things, step 1 through 4. But how do you make it sustainable? Because you can always have like this one little burst where you go on a bit of a rush and you make all of these changes and you go, I'm going to do this and it's going to change my financial life, and it doesn't last. How do you make it sustainable?
I'm really glad you asked me this question, because becoming aware of that importance of sustainability during Fruitful February was really important to me. It was one of my biggest awakenings. And I really come back to that concept of slowing down and that, a soulful time of, being at home and investing time, being prepared and organized, and simplifying your life by decluttering and reorganizing. So I actually have a Sunday money ritual. And that is where I spend sometimes up to an hour, but sometimes it's just 20 minutes, just looking at my week ahead to see what's going on and just look at where I can be organized and in control in order to save money. So during this, call it half an hour, I'll look at my diary and look at what we've got, what the kids have got sport, whether there's a particular bill due, or whether we have to go out somewhere, like if it's a birthday party where we need a present. Look at what's going on. So I can actually go, okay, well, great, I need to make sure I buy a present beforehand, and I may need to make sure I do some research and buy the best value present. I'll also do a food plan, look at what meals we're going to have for the week. And obviously prioritizing that time to eat up what we've already got at home to keep the bills down. Also thinking, okay, all right, getting on top of the laundry, making sure that that's all sorted, and understanding, okay, well, Rocco's running low on clothes. When I'm next at the secondhand clothing store, I'll grab him something there. And also looking at, even logistically, like how have I structured my time, my meetings, my workshops, the children's schedules, how have I structured it so that I'm not running around like a headless chicken? And if there are things that are tight, okay, have I got dinner already prepared? Is there a meal I can pull out of the freezer so that I don't get tempted to do takeaway or home delivery? So, really, I guess, keeping my financial cup filled, but also keeping, I guess, a calm sense of balance in my life. And I love that saying, Sunday well spent brings a week of content. And I really do think this ritual, which I've been doing for quite some time now, does actually stop me throwing money at the problem when I do get caught out or I'm disorganized or the wheels fall off, or at least it's quarantined to a certain degree.
Sunday well spent brings a week of content.
Have you never heard that?
I have never heard it, and I'm not 100% sure that you didn't just make it up then. But it works.
I would actually be flattered if you thought I made that up, because I think it's a really beautiful.
That's nice.
Like quote. I can't say who that came from, but
C. Campbell.
AKA Sugar Mama.
There we go. All right. That's a comprehensive list. 5 steps for a frugal life. Step number 1, the budget. Review the budget. And if you haven't got one, sit down and start putting one together. But it may take you a little while. It may take you up to 3 hours to do kind of your first budget. But put the time into your first budget so that it makes it easier to kind of revisit. And so go back and have a listen to our budgeting episodes on how to do that. But really, just go through and check what you are spending on all of your expenses, because that is really step 1, getting an overview of where you are spending your money. Step number 2, food. Set meals for set nights. I think I can just summarize it all. That's just fantastic. It just makes everything easy. Batch cooking, freezer, all that kind of stuff. It will speed the whole process up and reduce some of that mental load in trying to plan ahead, which is one of the big kind of issues for us at least. Step number 3, planning ahead for entertainment. Use play dates kind of for the kids, and the kids love that. as well. And it is cheap, it is affordable, kind of to go to a playground, everyone brings something to eat and away you go. And for adults, those ideas that you had, Eat Club, First Table, and Groupon, that is great.
And don't forget those cashback websites too.
Absolutely. And Groupon, like in terms of entertainment, you can get all kinds of things.
Oh, massages, haircuts.
Escape rooms.
Yeah.
No, I'm serious.
Is that not adult entertainment?
No, it's not, you're not escaping from like
that sounds a little bit
bondage.
Yeah, like S&M style.
No, it's not. it is kind of.
You went there, not me.
No, I haven't gone there, but I have noticed them on Groupon before.
Or maybe some other promiscuous websites, perhaps.
There is nothing.
Which are free.
There is nothing vaguely erotic about an escape room. Anyway, step number 4, utilities. And that is a fantastic idea. Put your phone number of your utilities, whether it's your power company or your gas company or anyone, put it into your phone, and in that contact also save your account number and make the most of those little gaps during your day, whether you're driving and are able to call, or sitting somewhere and you've got a few minutes, or you're just working and doing something else, that you're able to multitask and make that call. And it just gets easier if you have all the information there. You remove those blocks. And finally, step number 5, the Sunday money ritual. Look at the week ahead. Look for the pinch points. Look for what's going to kind of cause you problems, and then you can be prepared for them, and look for where you can make your week easier from a money perspective. Plan ahead, because a Sunday well spent brings a week of content. Oh, it's just glorious. Speaking of glorious, savings hack time. I've got a...
Before you jump in, can I just let everyone know that Giuseppe has had a glorious comeback.
A full recovery.
Full recovery is actually better than ever before.
Oh, that is good news.
And this dog was just... They couldn't work out what was wrong with him. And a big shout out for pet insurance, because that 5 days was just over $16,000.
That's a lot of money.
Insurance paid $11,000 of that, but just I am passionately pro insurance.
Wow, that is huge. I'm very, very glad that he made a full recovery. That's a nice way to finish. An even nicer way is with a savings hack that has come to me instead of to you, because a few weeks ago we put a little bit of a call out. When we say we put a call out, I put a call out.
You stole my phone. I went to the bathroom.
I stole your phone. You left it on the desk here in the studio, and I opened up your Instagram and I did a little kind of guerrilla message to your followers to say, hey, stop sending Canna the savings hacks, because you have some great ideas coming from people on Instagram. And I said, don't stop following you, but send them to me then instead. Go to Michael Thompson Author. I'm just leaving a big gap. You can just picture people picking up their phones going, oh, yeah, I'll do that. And then send them to me. And I'm so pleased to report they have.
Damn.
And it's very satisfying. Every time I get one, I'm like, oh, this is another little win against Canna. Not that it's competitive. It absolutely is.
No, not at all.
So this one came from Linda. Thank you, Linda. I really, really do appreciate this. Hey, Michael, money hack for you. Dupe perfumes and colognes, which I think is fascinating. You look a bit skeptical. What?
Linda, we're going to have a little chat. I will find you and hunt you down on Instagram.
Oh, you're just hurt. Your feelings are hurt that this has come to me and not you. So Linda says, my hubby's favourite Giorgio Armani Mania was discontinued years ago, but I found a dupe made by a Melbourne-based perfume company called, I think it's Palermo. They make quite a few inspired by designer fragrances. It smells almost identical to the original for $35. And she says, winning, and then does a little emoji that has like a little, what's that, okay?
I think that's perfect.
Perfect, okay. Well, you can see I'm a digital native, aren't I? It's got one of those little things where you got your fingers are touching and then if other fingers are up. It's like the old school.
It's the perfect. It's the perfect emoji.
Is it? Isn't it the old school, okay, everything's okay?
That's okay. Thumbs up is
Thumbs
okay.
up is not okay. Okay. So anyway, Linda, what do you think?
Oh, I'm impressed. I'm very impressed. There is another one that's called, I think, Air. that also do there's a perfume that's like almost $700. I think it's called Baccarat or something. And they make a dupe as well. I think it's $50 or $60, but that is brilliant. Perfume is so expensive as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think, no, I will find you, Linda, and hunt you down. But in the meantime, that is a very handy savings hack.
Just to be clear, Linda, I don't think she has any intention of actually following through with that threat. Thank you.
Well, I do have all this spare time now because I'm so mindfully frugal.
And also, you've got no one contacting you because they're all contacting me, so you've got no one to write back to. So anyone, but look, seriously, please keep the savings hacks coming, the tips coming. Send them through to me, Michael Thompson, author. They are very gratefully received. Canna, how do we find you if we want more information?
And you want to send those savings hacks? Of course, you just send them straight to me at Sugar Mama TV on Instagram or even TikTok.
And you can hear me every day with Sean Aylmer on Fear and Greed, the business news podcast for people who make their own decisions. Thank you for listening to How Do They Afford That? Remember to hit follow on the podcast and please leave us a review as well. Next week, we are talking about investing with somebody else. Should you buy a house or an apartment with family or friends? Does it work? What are the risks? We're going to get right into that topic next week. Don't miss it.